Hello everyone. Today's tutorial is centered on the TextJoin function. And from the name, the TextJoin function is used for joining several text strings into one. That is, if we have more than one text string that we like to combine together, then the TextJoin function is a very good function that we can use aside other function that is available in Microsoft Excel. Specifically, the TextJoin function helps to join text from multiple ranges or string with a specified delimiter between each text. What do we mean by this? Not only do we want to join or combine several text strings together in a range, but we also want to include a text strings in between them. And that is why the TextJoin function is a very good function that can help us to achieve this purpose, unlike what we have when we are using the concat function. Though the TextJoin function works in the same way like the concat function in terms of ability to join several text strings together as one. But when we are specifying a range, the TextJoin function allows us to include or insert a delimiter between the text strings. Endeavor to watch this video to the end in order to understand the capability of this TextJoin function. And by the way, my name is Olane Ishofunwa, and if you are new here, don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more tutorials. And kindly check my channel for a full video on the concat function. When we talk about the formula for the TextJoin function, the formula is expressed on the screen. And the syntax for the formula, the first one is the delimiter. The delimiter can either be a text or a special character or empty space, but it must be enclosed by a quotation mark because the quotation mark tells the function that this is a delimiter and it is required. The delimiter is required in the formula. The next one is the ignore empty. It is also required and it can either be true or false. If we select true, then we want the function to ignore any empty cells. While if we select false, then we want the function to include empty cells in the combined cell in the combined text. And the next one is the text that we like to combine together. So in doing this, we can either reference the cell where that contains the cell that contains the cell that contains the text that we want to reference, or we can reference the range that contains the several texts that we like to combine together as one. Then the next thing for us to do is to demonstrate with example how the TextJoin function works. So follow me and let's explore the capability of this function. In this section, we shall be demonstrating how to use the TextJoin function. And also, we're going to look at the difference between the TextJoin function and the concat function. For this example, we have 4 columns with text. I would like to combine the text in the 4 columns together. Using the TextJoin function, don't forget we're going to specify our delimiter, and in this case, we like to use a comma as our delimiter. Then selecting the true, we want it to ignore the empty cell. Then specifying our cell. That shows how we can join our cells together. Now, another example is using the TextJoin function, but this time around, we don't want to specify the cell. Rather, we want to specify a range. We want to reference the range. So rather than specifying the cell one by one, we reference a range, and easy, our text is combined together, even with specifying the range. Now, the other example that I want us to take notice, now what if we have an empty space in between the cells, in between the text that we would like to combine together? That is where the TextJoin function comes handy. When we specify our delimiter that we'd like to use, now if we select true, true means to ignore the empty cell. Then let us reference our range. We can see that using the selecting the true, it omitted the empty cells. It did not include the empty cell. But what about if we select the false? Let's look at what it will give us. So instead of true, select the false and we select our range. We can see that selection of the false includes the empty cells in between the two hyphen. So that is to show us different ways by which the text join function is working. Now let us compare it with the concat function. Using the concat function, the concat function only allows us to specify the range without room for the delimiter. And that is why we have this slide. But in case we'd like to use a text join function, so in this case, if we specify our delimiter as empty space, then we use true and we indicate our range. That shows us that with this, we can see that delimiter using the TextJoin function, which allows us to use delimiter, is much better than using the concat function. And we can use this TextJoin function for as many columns to join text in as many columns as possible. I believe you have learned something in today's tutorial. Kindly like this video, share this video, and subscribe. Click on the subscribe button, and don't forget to put on the notification bell so that you will be aware when we drop the next video. Thank you, and see you in the next class.